Video footage released by the police shows Steven Semmens sending videos of cocaine that was for order. He had travelled to Spain in order to take orders for his friends that was in Wales, with the intention of importing the drugs back via the Netherlands. The police obtained the videos from their phones and they used encrypted communications, but it couldn't have been EncroChat because you can't send videos, it was only messages and pictures. Wales police have said that 5 men who are part of an organised crime group have been jailed after it was discovered that they were trafficking and importing multiple kilos of cocaine and also Class B drugs. The operation was called Wizard and it was conducted by Welsh police. They were trying to determine if they were drug trafficking and they believed that Shane White was the head of the gang. Shane is 34 from Port Talbot and much of the cocaine that they imported was meant to be supplied on the streets of South Wales. His right-hand man was Steven Semmens, also 39 from Port Talbot, and he was based in Spain for much of the conspiracy. It was Steven's job to source the large quantities of cocaine from a Colombian drug cartel associate while they were in Spain. He would send videos back to the UK, sometimes showing 50 kilos at a time. This was their way of advertising the drugs because the last thing you want is to risk moving them to the UK and you can't sell them. The police discovered that White had several potential customers for the imported cocaine and he discussed the transportation routes through Spain and then on to Amsterdam and eventually the UK. Richard Gerard, 43 from Lancashire, facilitated the supply of cocaine into South Wales and he would reload White when he was running low on stock. Another of White's customers was Andrew Botto, 34 from Swansea. Botto was the head of his own group and he had a separate base in Swansea. Covert officers from South Wales Police followed Botto on numerous occasions in January and March 2021 when they attended a lockup in the Swansea area. They put them under surveillance and a lot of this evidence was used to convict them. When they raided the lockup, they found a kilo of cocaine along with packaging that contained trace amounts of cocaine also. White and Semmens used a courier called Ewan Williams, 37 years old from Port Talbot. He delivered the cocaine to the customers and he also helped with collecting the debts on behalf of White. The prosecution said they conspired to import 10 kilos of cocaine into the UK and they had supplied a further 8 kilos in the South Wales area during the investigation. So the conspiracy was a total of 18 kilos with a street value of 2 million to 2.5. As well as cocaine, there was also importing cannabis into the South Wales area, and they said that one of the street dealers was Luke Thomas, who was 23 years old, and all of them were sentenced on the 29th of December 2022 at Swansea Crown Court. Shane White received 15 years and 4 months for conspiracy to supply drugs. Steven Semmens was sentenced to 13 years and 6 months for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs. Andrew Botto was jailed for 9 years and 7 months for the same charge. Richard Gerard was sentenced to 7 years and 8 months for conspiracy to sell cocaine. Ewan Williams was jailed for 6 years for selling cocaine. And Luke Thomas was jailed for 6 months, suspended for 12, and ordered to do a community order as well for supplying cannabis for White. Detective Inspector Russ Jenkins from the Force Intelligence said this was a complex investigation and it resulted in the successful prosecution of a number of criminals. The web of conspirators was far and wide, and it crossed national borders and even continents. As a direct result of the investigation, South Wales Police worked with the National Crime Agency and other police forces, along with international partners, to disrupt this criminal organisation. So I thought that was a really interesting story coming from Wales. And don't forget, this video is sponsored by DB Bulldogs, and follow on social media on TikTok and Instagram to keep up to date with their story. And this other story coming from the website, an EncroChat gang has been jailed for a ton of cocaine and a £24 million conspiracy that the police have proved that they did. 8 members of the gang have been jailed for a total of 110 years for their role in the supply of a ton of cocaine and money laundering offences. The court heard they used EncroChat to organise and facilitate over 1,000 kilos of cocaine, 50 kilos of heroin and laundered 24 million in criminal proceeds between January and September of 2020. Specialist officers from Roku began investigating in April 2020 after the EncroChat platform was taken down after a law enforcement operation involving the French police. Data from the network was used by criminals to message each other and send information and arrange drug deals and sometimes hits and also other operations. This network was headed up by Sandeep Rao, and he ran the criminal enterprise from a Rutland Street property in High Wycombe. This was identified as a safe house where they stored multiple kilos of cocaine to process, and also millions of pounds worth of cash from the proceeds. Rao worked directly with a supplier in Dubai, and he made multi-kilo consignments of cocaine on a weekly basis and arranged for the sale across the UK to other dealers. Shanzad Hussain was his right-hand man, and he also looked after the safe house and operated high-end money machines in order to process the amount of money that the group was generating. He oversaw a network of couriers who were dispatched on a daily basis, delivering large amounts of drugs across the country. Edwin Kapoor operated as a deputy, they said, for Rao and Hussain, and he was involved in the sale of cocaine and also heroin. Hardev Find was a trusted courier, and he was responsible for couriering the heroin, cocaine and also MDMA on a regular basis. And Azia Hussain was a courier, a cash counter, and also a caretaker of the safe house also. He was found to have laundered no less than £1 million from the supply of Class A drugs. Raj Seecham was another courier, and he was responsible for transporting large amounts of drugs and cash for the gang also. He was arrested on the 14th of May 2020 and found to be in possession of 7 kilos of cocaine, which he attempted to hide in his car. Ian Harper was also involved in the conspiracy, and he purchased kilos of cocaine from the network and arranged to distribute it through Essex. Harper purchased at least 18 kilos from Rao. Another conspirator was Angela Harvey. She was a cash counter and also moved around large amounts of money to different addresses that was involved in the criminal organisation. She was found to have laundered over £200,000. The investigating officer DC Dale Lester said the Organised Crime Group operated at the highest level. It was a very intricate setup with a lot of money being distributed across the country and also very sophisticated operation. Many of the group used EncroChat phones, and they believed that they would not be detected, and they also used profits from misery to fund their lifestyles. So I really appreciate you joining me for these stories, and I'll be back again very shortly with some more news. Don't forget to send your stories to news@scarcitystudios.com and follow on Scarcity Studios on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter and Facebook.